I've got some repaired Starrett tools in that I want to share with you guys. There's a couple of these that belong to my granddad and my dad, you know, just original tools from the shop. And then another one here, some calipers that I had picked up at the flea market several years ago for a bargain value. And I sent them up there to have the jaws rehoned. So I'll just start with this right here and show you this guy. So I found this at the local flea market, Starrett number 120A, dial caliper, and there was really nothing wrong with the calipers other than whoever owned it, they had the jaws run all the way together, and they must have been sitting for quite some time in an environment with a lot of humidity and moisture, because the two jaws actually had quite a bit of rusting inside there in the jaws, and you can still see a little bit. I know it's kind of hard to see. The little black spots are the deep pits when it was rusting. I sent these up there to Starrett to have them rehone the jaws, which is that's a service they provide for all their tools. If they need repair, or if you need a replacement part, or whatever you need, you can send these up to them, and they can certainly rebuild them, refurbish them, whatever you need. They'll give you a quote before anything is done there as well. So all they had to do was put this in the machine that they use to hone the jaws on these dial calipers. And it's a pretty neat process. We actually got to see that, how they do that whenever they were building these brand new number 120s. But they simply go into a tool, it's a fixture that holds the caliper in there, and you have a hone that oscillates up and down and makes these jaws perfectly parallel. Now there's a little bit of work that they have to do to the hone to ensure that it stays completely parallel while it's honing. And you know, we got to see that little process there as well. But the fact is that they've got the insides of those jaws rehoned here, so that I know that they're giving me a nice, accurate reading in there. And then you can close them all the way up, and they do a little light check with a light there. You should have no light coming through those whatsoever.
Secure it in there on the top. Then the side here, so that's secure. And then there's this little peg here that pushes the jaws together, hopefully. And then I press the green button. Sometimes, if the wheel doesn't do it quite right, or maybe the part is a little bit different, we do it by hand. That action, using these blocks here and the pace, and we do it by hand. But hopefully it will work out fine, and we're not going to have to. Now what that product is lacquerine. It's like a paint thinner, basically. So you can see the jaws has the pattern that you're looking for. And then afterwards, I do what's known as the paper test to really make sure that all debris is cleaned out there. Hold it up to the light. And sure enough, no light. And that is how the job is done.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Job well done.
So I don't know, I probably paid somewhere in the neighborhood of $20 for these at the flea market, and that was probably 5-6 years ago. So we got those these are refurbished and ready to go. So that was awesome for them to do that. Now we've also got a couple Starrett Last Word indicators that I had a little repair work done there as well. So both of these were in my granddad's toolbox, and I can't say for certain that these were my granddad's, but I feel very confident that at least one of these were, and another one ended up in the toolbox. So that's why I had written on the bag here when I sent it up there to Starrett, this was Granddad's last word. What they did for me here, let me pull this stuff out, is they replaced the dial and the crystal. You can kind of see just how dirty this was. This is original and very old. So they kept the parts for me in this little bag, and I'll just be able to keep these in the toolbox. But they went ahead and freshened this guy up, and it still worked fine, but it was missing the feeler there. So the feeler was gone. So they added that, and I'm sure they took it apart and checked everything and did anything that they might have needed to get it back in proper working condition. But it does work. It does work. There we go. And on the last words, you can flip this little lever right here to reverse the direction. So very nice. It really looks nice, cleaned up really well. So I'm glad to have this one back in good working order. And then this guy right here, so this is another one, okay? And so they just ended up leaving the original dial on this one, because I told them that I would like to leave one of the dial faces original on these, just to kind of show the originality to it and the age that's in there. So that's what they did. They did what I asked and put a new crystal on it, the new bezel, snapped it in there, and cleaned it all up and made sure that it was working right. And it looks like they replaced the feeler on it there as well. So now we have two of my family's heritage tools that are cleaned up, ready to go back in the service with a nice crystal on there so we can see. But there's you a good comparison of the, what would be an original dial face from many, many decades ago to a new dial face that they're putting on all of the new last words now. The number 711 last word test indicator. All right. So I'm going to leave one of these here in the new shop, keep it in the toolbox, and then one of them's going to go back to Granddad's toolbox. But again, this is a good service that the Ellis Starrett Company provides on all of their tools. And when we were there visiting, when we were in the indicator department, they were working on, I believe it was an 811 test indicator. It may not be the 811, but they were working on one of their test indicators from a customer, and it was 10 or 12 years old. And they wanted to repair that one instead of buying a new one, and you can have it repaired for less than the cost of what a new one would be if you was to buy a new one. But they will repair them for you, and they'll quote it for you too if you need to do that. And just something to keep in mind for all of the Starrett tools. They will fix them up for you. So Starrett did a beautiful job on those test indicators on the last word, and I'm happy to get them cleaned up and ready for service again.